presentation inside the final eight, presented by One Sport TV Nigeria. My name is Philip Braid. I'll be co-hosting with Kato Uja. Today we'll be looking at the two giants of Nigerian women basketball, talking about First Bank, perennial winners of our league. We also have Dolphins basketball. There are new kids on the block, in quotes, I would say. So everybody is vying for the 2025 Zenith Bank NBBF Women's Basketball League. So it doesn't get any bigger than these two big teams from the same city, two different identities, philosophy, all fighting just for one trophy. And we've got an incredible panel talking about Teresa Dangosu, fondly called T-Mac. We also have Habib Afodun. He's the head coach, Hot School Basketball, based in Abuja. So they are going to be joining us in this panel discussion to talk about these games. In the course of the program also, we'll have Perpetua Clements. She's the chairperson of the Zenith Bank Female League. So she'll also be hooking up with us at some point in time. So I'm straight on to the game. Of course, in the next couple of hours, the third place game will start between MFM and Royal Aces. So let's start first with Teresa T-Mac. What's your take about this game? The Elephant Girls are back in the finals after 6 years. What's your take?
Well, it's good to see, what I would call the regular faces, that's the Elephant Girls, the First Bank team in the final eight once again. It's been a while coming, back and forth, disbandment of the team, so many things, has happened in between this final. So the First Bank team, as we know, are a team that play as a unit. And that's one thing that has always been consistent with the team First Bank, whether, it's Coach Owolo or Coach Lati or even Coach Julie right now. So that consistency, when it comes to how they play as a unit, has been there. And it's great to see that particular fact, is the sole reason why they are here. And I say that because they have, they're a team that has a lot to lose, actually, because a team that was disbanded and now you guys are back as a team. There's a lot at stake because it's kind of like they're still standing on one foot, right? So they have a lot to prove to themselves as players, to their new coach, Coach Julie, who just came in, and then to the First Bank administration, who had put this team together, because now we're seeing some new faces and then a few of the old faces from the previously disbanded team. So First Bank are a team that are coming in with experience, they are coming in with that unity and of course a distinct and different defensive style compared to other people. Because one thing you notice about First Bank's defense is that they would stop a team from scoring if they are not scoring. Basically, I played for First Bank, and I know that's like a mantra that we have. If we're not scoring, then there's no way the other team is scoring. They do as much as they can to slow down the other team offensively as well. And then talking about the other team that's in the finals, Dolphins, they are not a new name in the league. Dolphins have been battling with First Bank and, Deep Waters of those days and Delta Force and those other teams before in the past, and they've always or often made the finals. And now, after a very long time, I would say probably up to 10 to 15 years, we're seeing Dolphins and First Bank in the finals again. So this is going to definitely be an interesting matchup because, of course, we know how the Dolphins team play. They're a fast-paced team. They're a confident team. They love to shoot the ball. They rotate the ball, almost similar to how First Bank plays as well. So it's definitely going to be an interesting finals.
All right, thanks, Tess. Coach Habib, head coach, Hot Schools, thanks for joining us. So as a coach, what are your take with respect to, of course, the new kids, I call them in quotes on the block, talking about Dolphins basketball team? I know T-Mac was a former, an ex-Elephant girl, like the senior veterans in First Bank would say, shoe gets size. So evidently that tells you about their their quality. So, Coach Habib, what will you be telling us about this game?
Okay, good afternoon once again. I mean, it's so good to have these two teams, face up again at the finals of the Women Basketball League. For First Bank, I mean, I haven't been to the finals in the last 6 years. I mean, is I mean, it's good to have them back. Dolphins have been showing, they've been showing some signs. I mean, in the build up to this championship and also ultimately to the finals. For both teams, I mean, they have the quality, they have the technicality, and they have what it takes to win this particular game. However, it's going to be an interesting one, just because they are both well-rounded teams. I mean, for Dolphins, this is a team that has built its strength around more of defense, and also a little bit of more of offense too, so to speak. They try to balance both ends of the court, just and that's been one of the reasons why they've come this far. For First Bank, I mean, they try to stay disciplined. They know that, I mean, after the changes that has happened in recent time, they know that they don't have those kind of scoring prowess again in the likes of Murija and what have you, Ifunaya, and so to speak. So for them, they try to be very humble. They try to stay very calm and be very tactical in the way they approach every game that they played in the past. For Let's talk about Dolphins. For Dolphins, they have so much to prove. In terms of their defensive end of the game. In the last game, it was so pleasing to see that for a Dolphins team, up to this point they've remained undefeated on all the games that they've played. However, they've also been playing a championship level kind of defense, because that is evident in the 49 rebounds that they recorded in their semi-finals game. 19 of those 49 rebounds were offensive rebounds, you know, and also they forced the team to 23 turnovers, part of which they converted into basket, 18 steals, 7 blocks, and in all their games they've held their opponent to below 50 points in every game. So this is something that they've tried to perfect. They perfected over time, and they try to see how they can now also balance their scoring. Now, when you talk about balancing their scoring, their strength has always been on transition offense. And when a team plays transition offense, you find out that everybody scores from every angle and all that. It just entails a little bit of running, a little bit of quick passes, and when you put all those together, it amounts to something. So that's what you have. The likes of Ajani Amudalat, Anari Favor, and Tewo Brady, who are the ones, they are primary scorers. Those are the primary scorers. However, in a situation where they tend to slow down a bit, you see some other players trying to pick up again. And this has been made possible because of the kind of basketball they play. They push the ball at fast pace, they spread the floor, they run, they grab rebounds, and they a quick outlet, and they try to attack as quickly as they can. Also, they also settle for a lot of threes, and that's what we saw against Titans basketball, where they settle for a lot of threes. And now, where you are focusing on the likes of Ajani, Anari Favor, and Tewo Brady, you see people like Sani Jadesola, Samuel too, coming in to just contribute a little bit of their own. For Sani Jadesola against Custom, she scored 20, which is very, very, very surprising. Which was very, very surprising for Samuel Benisola. She scored 11 points, against Royal Aces in their semi-final. So this is what you have for Dolphins. They try to balance both court. On the other hand, for First Bank, like I said, they try to remain very humble. They see that they take it step by step, brick by brick, to see how they can churn out results from every game that they approach. So now that they are back after 6 years, they built their team on defense and also on resilience. If you look at their last game, they were their first game against Bielsa. They were a bit slow and all that, but they picked up in the other games. But their games against MFM in their semi-finals, they have the depth of scoring. They spread the scoring across and the likes of them. So for people leading in their scoring has been Marilyn, rebounding the offensive and defensive rebounds, Olugbaho, Daphne, and Ebega John. These are the people leading in their scoring. So they also try to hustle their opponents on defense and see what they can put together on their offensive end. So it's going to be an interesting game overall, and it's something I'm looking forward to watch.
All right, thanks, Coach Habib. Quite an incisive and in-depth analysis from him there. So let me fall back to T Mac now. So for you, T Mac, you played for Force Bank. I mean, countless times. You guys have the winning quality, but looking at it from an overview, what are the X factor players in this matchup? Look at both sides. Although Coach Habib tried to mention some X factor players from Dolphins. So on the part of First Bank, who are the X factor players that will deliver? Or like the same basketball, clutch players who deliver on the day.
Hey, thank you for that question. I think there's one player that, is, I would call her kind of like a silent player, but her presence is always felt for the last two games that they've played towards the end of the game. And that player is Adel Madelos. Sorry, I think somebody needs to
Adel?
turn off their mic because there's some background noise.
Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
so back to what I was saying. So Adel Madelos is one player that has, come out toward the end of the game, and she has been grabbing some rebounds that have been really, really important. She in the semifinals game, she had 7 points and I think a total of 6 rebounds. And those 6 rebounds might seem small, but they were the most important rebounds. There were 2 rebounds that she caught that she put back, and that was what gave them that I think boost to understand that okay, now this game is ours. Now we are here to play. So she's somebody that we need to look out for in this finals, Adel Madelos. And then of course we have Coach Abib already mentioned, some of the names that we were expecting, to hear, like Marilyn and the rest of them. But there's also Naomi. Naomi is what we call in Nigeria small but mighty. Naomi Okoro. She's a player that comes in and she does those little hustles on defense, makes whoever she's guarding really, really uncomfortable, that they cannot even, give good passes or even make proper decisions. So that's something that we would see today because Dolphins, we know, have big guards. They are bigger than Naomi in size. But trust me, that's why they say basketball is not played. It's not just by height, it's by the heart, right? So Naomi is a player that we should also look out for because she's going to come in there disturbing and distracting and putting pressure on any guard player, which will likely be Tewo on the Dolphins side, bringing down the ball. So she's a player that we need to look out for. And then another player that stood out in the semifinals for First Bank is Joseph Godgift. Joseph Godgift is a player that was consistent throughout that semifinal game. So I think we need to look out for her also in that game because she also dropped I think 7 points. Yeah, she also dropped 7 points in that game. And she's a player that will go in there and grab rebounds too. So we should watch out for these people. And then, of course, the regular Marilyn and Joy. And then for the Dolphins team, we already know the players to expect, that will come out fired up. We're talking Tewo, Favor, Anani, and Khadija as well. So these players are players that we know stats-wise, they've been consistent. They are fearless. They are very confident. They trust themselves. They trust their teammates. And I'm not going to say too much, but maybe Coach Habib might have some other, stats to back up some of these players that I've mentioned.
All right, thanks, Tess. Welcome, Kato Uja. You're live with us. Evidently had some things doing back room. One Sport is streaming this game live to a global audience. So he's been working on trying to perfect those connections for us, while we are at this. So you are welcome, Kato.
Yeah, Philip, thank you so much for keeping the house while I was away. And although I was still watching it, even though I was away, I was watching it, and then I could see everything you guys were discussing, and it's pretty good. T-Mac is really doing a good job. T-Mac, I must really recommend you for what you've been doing. Thank you so much for keeping, putting a voice to the female basketball in Nigeria. Thank you so much, Philip. I appreciate what you're doing for making sure that whatever happens in Nigerian basketball get across to everybody. So it's very good to be here. You know, it's very good to be here, seeing what has been happening in the Premier League. It's been so great. You know, we could see what the Dolphin teams have been doing. We've seen what the First Bank team are doing. You know, I was actually hoping for the MFM team to get to the final, but sorry that they lost to the First Bank team. It was an unbelievable game. Yeah, I couldn't believe it myself. I was actually rooting for the MFM team to get to the finals, you know. And they actually have one of my best player wonders on the team, you know, with that 3-point game. Yeah, it's been amazing. But I must really recommend what the Dolphin teams have been doing. The Dolphin teams have looked more complete. You know, they are more of a complete team. You know, they play together. You know, you can't really expect any player coming up with big numbers every night. They have different players coming up, dropping different points. You know, they have this defense that they play. You know, they play defensively. They play together. They play offensively together. You know, and then so far so good. Going by stat wise, they are the only team in the league that has. You know, they have about 3 players averaging more than 3 3 points. You know, so far in the final 8. Yeah, they had Jani. She's been averaging. She had a night where she had 6 points. They had a Favor, and then they have Towu, who is like one of their best players and one of the most consistent player on the team. And at the same time, she's also very defensive minded, you know. And that looks more like a complete team. If I'm going to, which I'm not allowed to take a side, but that looks more of a favorite to me because of their offensive prowess and defensive, prowess. You know, they are more complete. But that doesn't despite the fact that we are looking at a first bank team. You know, the first bank team doesn't really. They also have a similar style of play. They don't really rely on a certain player. You know, every night they have different players coming in to do different things, and you can't really expect that. Okay, this is the player that's coming out to play. Unlike the MFM team that we all knew that if Wando doesn't come out blazing, shooting threes, they were going to be shut down, and he showed up. When Wando came out and was held down to just 8 points in the semifinal game, it was hard for MFM to progress. But unlike the first bank team where they have, the first teams to commit a lot of turnovers, they just come in and then they disrupt your offensive style. They force you to get turnover. They steal your ball a lot, and then they get into transition. They are not a very good shooting team. They're not a good shooting team. Sometimes so far they haven't even shot up to 10 3-pointers in the entire final 8, but they are in the finals. They're not really a good shooting team, but they are consistent in the little things that they do, which is play together, play good offense, and play good defense.
All right, thank you very much, Kato. That was very deep and incisive analysis coming from you. I'm sure Julie, coach of First Bank, and Peter Akindele, coach of Dolphin, they'll be snooping in on this also. People will send them expo so that they'll know how to curtail the excesses of every other team. In the NBA, how it works, when the team is playing and then there are lapses or people are able to know what strengths and weaknesses are, and then they adjust. So I'm sure if they are watching this analysis, they should be able to adjust, having read the game script. So going on to another perspective, because we've looked at the game and all these things, there's a psychology to such big games like this. And I know Coach Habib is a very experienced coach and he's come under such pressure situations too. So I'd like to ask him, how do players how does the team prepare mentally for such championship finals like this? Could you put us through some of these scenarios? Coach Habib.
Okay, so the one factor that is working for both teams is that they've been on this stage before. Both teams have been on this stage before, so that one they've edged it out. Secondly, it's also to see that the coaches, the coaches and the players, the locker room is in a good situation. They have good leadership in the team, and I want to believe First Bank has that, and they have in the likes of Mary Lynn and the rest of them. If the locker room is good, I expect that will also work for them. And other thing is also to see that, like T Mark mentioned earlier, that the coaches believe in the players. Now, if the coaches believe in the players and they ask them to go and do what they know how to do, they allow them express themselves. it tends to take a little bit of pressure off the players when the players can express themselves. And this is what you find in the balance of scoring that you see on Dolphins team. Note that the average team scoring for the average for team scoring for Dolphins is at 6 points per player, while that of First Bank is at four. Sorry, the average scoring point is at 4 points per player for the First Bank. So these are good numbers for both teams, but of course Dolphins is doing better than First Bank. But for both of them, you can see that there's a lot of trust in the team. Everybody have trust in each other, so they let everybody express themselves, which is leading to everybody contributing their own bit in order for them to win games. So in terms of the pressure, they have coaches too that are so experienced, and they'll be able to manage the pressure, take the pressure off the players, let them know that yes, they have come this far, and it's not by luck, it's by hard work and the structure that has been built that the team is riding on. That's what has brought them this far. So I expect most of this work to be done by the technical crew, the coaches, the technical crew, the management of the team, to talk these players, to psych them up in preparing them for this game. They've known each other, they've met before in the past. So I expect them to calm down coming into this game, knowing fully well that whatever mistake that they make, the coach will find it out and try to correct it in the course of the game. What I tell players when they go into the game is that, you know what, do your own bit and let me do my own bit. But at the end of it all, I have you. I'm not going to put you in a situation where you can fail. I'm going to try and put you in a spot where you can succeed. If you're a good 2-point shooter, we'll work out a play for you where you can get the ball in your best position so you can express yourself better. If you're a 3-point shooter, we're going to work plays for you to help you express yourself better. These are also some of the things that the coaches need to also do to help the player absorb this pressure and perform better. By and large, overall, what I'm saying is that it's the duty of the coaches to take the pressure off these players. Nothing has to change. They have come this far. It's not by luck. They should keep doing what they need to do. Then the coaches will now come in with the technicality, the numbers, the data, and see, okay, this is the person that does this for them in the first and second quarter. So we have to take care of this. We have to take care of that. This is what we need to do to get better, to go past these people in the finals. So by and large, these coaches have a lot of work to do. They should psych the players, make them be in the right state of mind, and let them go face the game, because that is what they are built for.
Major situations, final game like this, the coaches, of course, I don't know. In Nigeria, we tend to multitask. For bigger teams, I know they have team psychologists who psych the players for such events. So Coach Habib has just been letting us in on one of those things or scenario, what they do to prep the team. So what's your take also on those tests? That's talking from the perspective of a player now. Coach Habib spoke from the perspective of a coach having such pressure situations. How the team deals with it psychologically? So as a player, how were you able to deal with such situations psychologically, Timak?
To games and how I stay mentally prepared, sometimes it has to do with the fact that you're already familiar with the faces, you're already familiar with the players that you're playing against. You've played against these players multiple times back to back. So the fact that there's that familiarity, it's not a condescending, it's not in a condescending way. It's not in a being too carefree. But then there's that knowledge that you already know these players, and you already know that, okay, this is what this player knows how to do, and this is what I know how to do. So you're able to now look for ways to guard that player. So for instance, if I'm going into the game playing against maybe a Wando, I know that she's a good shooter, right? So it's left for myself and my teammates to psych ourselves up. I know you can stop this person. I know you can do this. If the person plays on the same position as me, then I know how to guard the person. So it's basically understanding the opponents that you're playing, and then having the knowledge of how those players play, and then just being able to find ways that you can counter. And then at some points too in the game, if you're be getting beats, you can ask for help from your teammates. So just that confidence, knowing that you can stop another player, the confidence that you all have as a team based on how far you've practiced and how far you've come into the competition, that trust should be enough, for players to mentally psych themselves and use that to play the game, right? So I think for me, when I was playing, how I prepare mentally is just knowing that, okay, this is a game, first of all, like they say, go and have fun, right? But as much as I'm having fun, I'm also trying to not, exclude myself from the game itself. Not necessarily putting any pressure on myself or on my teammates, but just understanding and the knowledge of what's at stake, what is important, is something that would help me stay in the moment, help me stay present throughout the game, whether on offense and on defense. And then I'm a player who, whenever I play, I tend to be very cautious of the time of the clock. So there has to always be that person who is like, yo, we're rushing with them. We need to watch the clock, just that somebody that is able to remind the team of whatever is happening. All those little things add up to, how the team is able to mentally stay in the game, mentally prepare for the game, just being able to note some things down and remember those things, or have somebody to remind you of those things, because you get carried away sometimes during the game, and then you forget the important things. You forget, maybe for instance, you take the lead and then you begin to relax. It happens a lot. We've seen that a lot with players. They begin to relax and just feel like we've won this game, but it's not the end of the game until the final whistle. So mentally, you have to check a lot of boxes before the beginning of the game, and then during the game. And that's the way that I stay mentally prepared, or I stay ready for the game without amassing too much pressure based on whoever I'm playing against.
So thanks, T-Mac. So we've talked so much about the teams now. We have to now look at the quality of our league. Has there been so much progress? Looking at the conference style we adopt, which is a stronger conference in terms of preparation, structure, and all that bits. Habib, can you speak to this? Which is the strongest? Which is the strongest conference? And then on the whole, how has the quality of our league improved from previous years?
Okay, so I still think we still need more games. We still need a bigger structure to accommodate more games, such that these people can play, the girls can play through 6 months, almost 6 or 5 months, every season. That is going to help whatever result that we are yearning for all these years. So basically, if these games can be expanded to accommodate more games and spend longer time preparing, because what has played out clearly in this season is the fact that most of the teams from the north look, I mean, don't quote me, look a bit ill prepared. They're not really prepared for this from what we are seeing from the results and what have you. And from what we've heard about Lagos teams and the rest of them, they seem to have a lot of structure. The MFM, the First Bank, even the Dolphins, they have camp houses, they have facility where they train in without disturbances. They also have the other aspect of preparation for tournament, or that doesn't even happen on the court, like the physio, strength training, agility, and what have you. So I think if we have a league that runs for that amount of time, the other teams too will have time to prepare their team and find a way to also prepare the girls, coming into a tournament like this. That's one. Number two, we also have to be funding. I mean, we have seen some sort of improvement in the prize money and what have you. This should continue. We expect it to continue. We want it to get better. We want a situation where we have 2, 3, 4, 5 of our girls, being on the national team when we want to go for international competitions. And like I always tell the girls here in the north, I tell them that, we've always had this quota system of, there has to be at least 2, and kudos to the management, there has to be at least 2 home-based players, on our national team. Now we don't have any home-based player because Murija is not a home-based player anymore. So is Ifunaya. So I charge these girls, I tell them every day, who is going to take that spot? Who is going to take those spots? You guys need to work harder and do whatever you have to do. Another important thing is to see that, to ensure that whatever it is we are teaching these girls are the correct things. So I will really appeal to MBBF or people in the Helms of Affairs to ensure that there's more of coaches training, so that by the time we're passing down this knowledge, we're passing down the right thing, we're passing down the basic fundamentals and all that. I mean, you see some of these teams display some of these, fundamentals and what have you. We need it to be very solid. I spoke to the likes of Ezine when they were in camp here in Abuja. I told her, you have to come back and teach our girls how to play defense. I told her specifically defense. She said yes, she's working and planning on something like that. So in terms of the improvement of the league, yeah, we've seen some improvement. The national stadium is looking as beautiful as ever. We want that to continue. We also want these girls to play more games. These girls can play. I've seen these girls play. These girls can play, but the number of games they play, it's the difference between what we have here and what is over there. In the high school, I learned girls play 14, 18, 20 games and all that. And this is the number of games, and they play that for just regular season. And this is the total number of games that our girls play for the whole year. Please, like I said, we need more games. We need better preparation. We need funding for these teams. We need more stakeholders to come into the league. Let's even have more teams to play so that we can have the improvement that we'll be yearning for. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Habib. So, Tima, can you also lend weight to the fact that, of course, I know you've always been an Atlantic Conference player. Habib coaches a team from the Savannah, so you shed light on that too. In your opinion, Team Mark, do you think these Atlantic Conference teams are stronger? And in terms of the general quality of our league, has it improved over time? Team Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Philip. I actually started playing from the Savannah Conference with the FCT Angels, so I've been all over the place actually in the league. I started from the FCT Angels in the Savannah Conference and then moved to Customs, to the Nigerian Customs as well, before coming over to First Bank here in the Atlantic. But Coach Habib has basically said almost everything that I wanted to say. And it's really important that we have more people coming in and helping the league, growing the league basically, and giving our players opportunities to have more games. And kudos to Zenith Bank for making the court as beautiful as it is. Honestly, I was really impressed when I turned on the game to watch and I saw a shiny court. The last time I saw a court that's shining that much, I knew was when I was in college in America. But anyhow, one other thing that Coach Habib mentioned is them having more training for coaches and all of that. But apart from that, I want to also commend the coaches. Their impact so far on the players has been a factor to what we have now, to the quality of basketball that we have now. It's not where we want it to be, but so far, I think our coaches are doing pretty well. There have been several coaching clinics. I've even attended a few in Abuja and even in Lagos. And it's really nice to see that we're consistently trying to grow as coaches, as players, and all of that. So, this final 8 is showing so much growth, and I'm talking about the caliber of teams that have been coming into the league. We've seen Bielsa. This is the 3rd time that they're making, the final 8, and this is their 3rd year in the league. That shows that there is this consistency in improvement for that team to qualify, especially in the Atlantic Conference. And then we see the team Royal Aces. coming into the league and qualifying for the semi-finals. In fact, last season, I think they made it to the finals or so. And then, or the third place game. And then we've also seen a new team coming this year, Titans, who also did very well and qualified, dropping big teams in the Savannah Conference like Plateau, and the likes of them, and even topping the charts, being number one from the Savannah Conference, ahead of teams like the Nigerian Customs. So that shows that there's this improvement. There's a new era of basketball players coming in. And the fact that we're having first phase, second phase, even though it's not as long as we expect or want it to be, hopefully it gets to that point, And then this shows that we'll also be giving opportunity or giving avenue for the states, individuals that own teams as well, to continue to see the possibilities and continue to see that, okay, there's something here that I need to invest my time, invest my money into, for the growth of these players. And also, I would also commend the Milo national competition. We have a lot of players now playing in the league that have come from the Milo gates. That's been like that for a while, but it's great to see that it's even getting better now. And of course, from different academies as well, that we have players coming in. So that shows the growth, it shows trust, it shows relevance, and it shows value for the players, the kind of players that we have in Nigeria. And then let's not forget also the fact that this competition is as tough as it is right now, the final eight, also has to do with, the mix of players, player movements, competition dynamics. There are so many players that used to play for a different team last year. Now they are playing for a different team this year. So just seeing that, movement of players showing that, okay, this player can still go to First Bank and still be a very good player, still be a very relevant player to that team, or player moving from, a big team, maybe, for instance, and going to like Ogedengbe, for instance. She used to play for First Bank, and now we're seeing her suited up with the Royal Aces. So all of that dynamics, all of that mix of player movements, and all of that is part of what is giving us the tough games that we're having. We see some Dolphins players playing for MFM, some MFM players like Daphne playing for First Bank, just like that, So I think all of that is kind of part of what is giving us the unpredictability of this final eight, So far from the beginning until now, like Mr. Kato and Mr. Philip have said, you were hoping for MFM to be in the finals, but unfortunately, they can't be there. And now we're seeing First Bank and Dolphins, a team that, have been in the finals in the Zenith League before in the past. So it's just, I think, part of that whole player movement and, improvement of different academies and Milo players coming in. And yeah, so basically that's why I think, there's growth, and it might be slow, but it's progressive.
All right, thanks, Tessie. So I would like to take some feedbacks. There are quite a number of feedbacks we're getting from Valentine. Chize tells us that there were so many missed baskets in the final eight. Sharon Ogaranduku tells us this final eight is more intense than previous years. It's all thanks to the sponsor, Zenith Bank, for a well-prepared final. Sharon also tells us that lack of preparation with the teams from the Savannah Conference might be militating against their progress. Then Jibril Ibrahim tells us that, honestly, like Coach Habib said, more tournaments are required. Minimum, we should have at least 6 months of games. Well noted. Then Venom Enoch tells us, she's supposed to as a fact. So, Kato, what are your response to this? Kato, you got the floor.
Okay, so we just need. I don't like doing the blame game most of the time. It's all about trying to see how we can improve something, So for now, I'm not going to try to see how we could blame anybody, but just stating the obvious fact, it looks like the teams in the Atlantic Conference were more prepared. Like I think Habib stated, they have camp houses where where they have been preparing, stuff like that. So that kind of like gave them an edge over teams coming from the the Atlantic, no, sorry, the Savannah Conference. You know, they've been preparing, and then you could see it you could see the results showing. You know, we're having teams in the Atlantic Conference, blowout teams coming from the Savannah Conference, beating them sometime by 30 points, 40 points. You know, so that shows you the level that, you know, even though we don't really have, even though the league is not stretched to a lot of months, but there are teams, you know, who are like, you know, preparing. You know, so the thing there is that if we have a league and we have people, you know, trying to win something, you know, you don't need some kind of motivation. It's either you're in the league or you're not in the league. I must say that truly. You know, if you're actually in the league and you want to make a statement, you don't need anybody to come and try to push you or motivate you. You know, it's about, okay, if you want to be a good team, you start preparing your team early enough. That's just the truth. You know, so if we just keep making excuses, right? Excuses are gonna burn us down. Look at all the teams playing good basketball. With the way Dolphins are playing, that shows you that that's a team that is really, really prepared. That shows you that that shows you that that team has prepared, because you could see the players putting in numbers. You could see the first bank team. Now you could see a team that is hustling on the floor. That shows you the level at which they are prepared. You know, they don't really have players coming up to drop big numbers, but you could see them forcing turnovers. You could see them getting steals. That shows you some level of preparation. So I will urge all the teams in the Savannah Conference, to just keep preparing. The league is going to happen. It's not like the league is not going to happen. The league is going to happen. So why wait? Start preparing, start getting players preparing. And also, I must urge all the players. Right now we have the whole world watching. If I'm playing basketball and I know that the whole world is going to watch me in the final eight, do I have to wait till the final eight before I get to the gym, or before I start going to the court to pull up shots, or train myself or something like that? You don't need to. These are things that we have to sit down and tell ourselves the truth. Development starts from individual first. So it starts with me trying to see how I can get better. It starts with teams trying to see how they can get better, and then the league itself can also get better. So now, if a player decides to say, okay, the final eight is coming or the league is coming, I need to probably train myself, right? Because at the end of the day, these players are the ones who are still going to play on the national team. Right now, I can still call names of players who have been so impressive. Now, there is no way they want to call the national team. They want to call an under 19 team that you cannot look at the players that are performing so well. I have about 3 players in the Dolphin teams who are averaging above 14 points. There's no way you cannot look at those kind of players. Now, so that shows you the level at which these players have been preparing. They have been preparing for this moment. And, if God is going to reward their hard work, they work so hard. And I'm not saying other teams didn't work out so hard, but I'm just saying that everybody needs to get back and try to see how they can improve themselves. Personally, teams go back and improve themselves. And together, the teams are the ones to improve the league. But every single time, I might be wrong, though, but everybody's looking at the league improving the team. I think the teams improve and make a league better. That's my own suggestion. So if every team goes back and say, okay, we are going to say, we want to be, imagine having 5 teams trying to be the best team in the league. That's why we're going to have a very competitive league. Imagine 7 teams want to say, okay, we want to be the best in the league. That is what is going to make the league tougher and stronger. So I urge everybody to see how they can improve their personal self, improve their team, and then together we can improve the league. No more trying to put blames on, say, okay, no. Let us look inward and see how we can improve ourselves, and then teams improve themselves, and then together we can improve the league. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Kato. We dig in on that. So we've dwelled so much on the final teams and some of the other things they'll be doing. So let me start first with Coach Habib. We do not intend to downplay the 2 teams who've also come this far. Talking about MFM and Royal Aces. Their games are coming up very shortly. That's the 3rd place game. So, Coach Habib, I would like to know what are the chances of Royal Aces against MFM in the light of the 3rd place match?
Okay. For Royal Aces, of course, they've performed very well in the last 2 seasons, last year and this year. they've shown that they're a team to look out for, and they've also showed consistent improvement, which is, let me also put it as they have been progressive, so to speak. However, they stand a good chance of winning the MFM today because, like they say, the underdog sometimes they have a better chance to win games most of the time. And basically, what Real Aces are just going to bring to today's game is to continue with their offense that allows everybody to have a feel of the ball and share the scoring responsibility amongst all of them. In their semi-finals game that they lost to Dolphins, I mean, we had the likes of Ruth Udenyi, who didn't score, who hadn't scored in their first, second, and third game in their group stage game, who hadn't scored any point in their group stage game, dropping 14 points in their semi-finals game. That tells you that I mean, some of them are waking up to see that, oh, you know what? I mean, going on with nothing it's a bad idea. So you have the likes of Ruth today, he's scoring 14-point game. Mofeolu Akirimade scoring under 6 points, dropping under 6 points. I mean, we have Ogidegbe Bidemi true. I mean, adding our own 7 points to the tally. Then we have, of course, Oyindamola Abdulaziz, 9 points, whom I think she hasn't been performing optimally because, I mean, for Oyinda Abdulaziz, I expect her to be doing a job double-double, to be recording double figures in all their games. But so far, so good. In their first match, she was 7 points. Second match, she was 6. Third match, and she was 5. Then in semi-final, she edged it a bit by just scoring 9 points. So as you can see, we have the average scoring on the Real Aces to be 5 points, per player, while about 9 of them scored, recorded some. I mean, on the score sheet. They're recorded on the score sheet for scoring. So we have a very good number from the likes of Mary Gokolo, Kelani Sumbo, scoring 6 and 5 respectively. So I expect them that with the way they share the ball and everybody has the responsibility of scoring, they'll be very difficult to stop by the MFM. And they can see this through. However, on the other hand, for MFM, whom I think this is like an eye opener for them, they're going to go back home and rebuild and see what they can do differently. There has been so much focus on one or two people, trying to carry them all the way, and it's so the concentration is the scoring is so concentrated on some few people that they are so predictable. Their offense is so predictable. So what the other teams did, is just to send people ahead to send people to those people, shut them down, and see how they can limit their numbers. Exactly what Kato said. Whenever Wando doesn't play well, MFM struggles. Remember, in their first game against Dolphins, Wando scored 7 points. They lost. Whenever Wando struggles, MFM might likely lose. Now, having lost to Dolphins in their first match against Customs and Titans, she scored 21 points and 19 points respectively, and they won those games. Now, coming to semi-finals against First Bank, she was limited to 8 points again, and they lost. So to back her up has been Isaac Abigail. Abigail has been very consistent. She played very well. Of course, most of her points will come from rebound, the big man plays and the rest of it. You will hardly be able to score. She's like one of the best forward in the country right now. So Abigail has been consistent. But against Dolphins too, she was limited to just 2 points, which they lost that game also. So you can tell that Dolphins did their assignment very well. They did their homework very well. They sent people after these two people, and they lost that game eventually. The person that had to step up for them was Iduma Pius, who scored 13 points, but that was not enough to get them out of the woods. However, in subsequent games she scored 12 points against Custom, 20 points against Titans, and they won those games. Now again against the First Bank in semi-final, they scored 16 points. So what I expect MFM to do, which I think might be a bit too late, but if they can find a way around to work their offense around other players so as to take the focus away from these two people, they might be able to see this game through. So for MFM, they should have they should spread their scoring option, while for Real Aces, they should continue to do what they are doing. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Coach Abid. From feedbacks or information we're getting, the third place game has started about now. So in 1 minute, Percy, what are Real Aces' chances against the wounded MFM? Because we need to log on to the live game. very shortly. Mary Silas is also asking if they are streaming today. Yes, we are streaming today. Two games are coming up. One's coming up by 4 p.m. The first game has started, which is the third place match. Of course, there are going to be lots of entertainment. We also want to use this opportunity to thank First Bank for supporting us. There's the Premier League all this while. So, Timac, what are Royal Aces chances against MFM?
So this is the Royal Aces' second time in the league, and they've also made it, to the semi-finals, and I think played in the third place game. So they are not new to the stage, and they've played the MFM team before, so they understand what's at stake. They know that this team is a team that, like their name, Fire Girl. So they will come fired up, regardless of the fact that they lost, to First Bank and couldn't make it to the finals game. So they should have it at the back of their mind that MFM will definitely be coming to win something. At least a third place is still something, and knowing that they are the, back previous champions, they will definitely be coming to win that 3 million and get the bronze medal. So Aces should brace up because it's not going to be an easy match. Like you said, they are the wounded lions, and we know how it is when you're hungry. You want something. So that's the only bread left right now. The third place is the only bread left because if you lose that game, you don't get anything. So that's going to be a really interesting game. To me, the third place game is almost like a quarterfinals, right? Because if you lose, you're out. You're as good as the person that left from the beginning. So good luck to both of them, really. I hope that they both come out and give us something interesting to watch, like we're hoping the First Bank and Dolphins will do in the finals. It's been an amazing time here, and I really appreciate One Sports TV for giving me this platform to be here and just talk about our basketball. We've not really had the space like this, and it's great that we're seeing the growth and the developments not just on the floor but off the floor as well. So thank you so much, Mr. Kato. Thank you, Mr. Philip. Great analysis, great discussion, Coach Habib. Thank you all. Let's watch the games and hope for the best for whatever team we're rooting for to win. Go Elephant Girls.
All right, thanks, Timac. So let me use the floor to Kato to draw the curtains, like they say proverbially.
Okay. Yeah. So a quick one.
The floor is yours. Wrap up on the curtain.
Okay, so we'll be heading back into the third place game, but a very quick one. I want all four of us to pick a guess who's going to win the league. Habib, who do you think is going to win the league? You're going to tell us. Timac, who do you think is going to win the league? Philip, you tell us, and then I'll also draw my guess, and then we can see how we could meet back here again tomorrow after the league to wrap it up, and then see who got the prediction right. So let's start with Habib. Habib, who do you think is going to win who do you think is going to win the league?
It's going to be a close one, but I pick Dolphins.
Okay, thank you. Habib picked Dolphins. Timac, so over to you now. Timac, who do you think is going to win the Premier League?
This is a setup. It's a trick question. Both teams have come this far. They are, they deserve to be here. But once an elephant girl, always an elephant girl. Let's go First Bank.
Okay, so Timac picks First Bank. All right, so Mr. Philip, don't worry, nobody's going to hold it against you. Who do you think is going to win the league?
I was rooting for MFM, but they are out, so I'll fall back on First Bank. So it's 2-1 now. So what's your call, Kato?
Well, I am going to go with the Dolphins team. That's a very complete team, offensively, defensively. So I'm going to be rooting for them. Exactly. Yeah.
Go Dolphins.
So so thank you guys. So we'll be back here. We'll see how we'll be back here tomorrow to wrap it up and see who got the right prediction. Thank you, Timac, for coming up. Thank you, Habib. And then let us enjoy the third place game. And then we also watch the finals. So thank you guys, and then see you guys. Thank you guys.